What's up, guys? I am back, and we're going to be talking about some gun control bills that are up for vote next week. And you need to contact your reps immediately, especially the ones that are featured in this video, but mostly all of the reps, especially Democratic reps. If you can make your voice heard that you don't want gun control, maybe, just maybe, they'll do the right thing and represent you. Anyway, going on ahead. Um, so Congressional lawmakers are launching a fresh push for gun control and introducing two bills aimed at sweeping overhauls of the nation's gun laws. A bipartisan group of lawmakers, bipartisan, okay, when they say bipartisan, what they really mean is almost all of the Democrats, if not all of the Democrats, and like two or three Republicans. That's not really bipartisan, okay? That's three people who really shouldn't be part of the Republican Party if they're in favor of gun control. They should really be either independent or a Democrat. They're just rhinos. That's it. Anyway, uh, so they reintroduced legislation Tuesday to require background checks for all gun purchase or universal background checks. The legislation was first introduced in 2019 after the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting, but it stalled in the Senate. Thank God, because this is a terrible law. Um, Thompson said, quote, "Time and time again, we've seen that the American people want universal background checks. In fact, public polling shows that the majority of people, Democrats, Republicans, and independents, support this." No, you're wrong. The only people that support this are the people that actually think that it will do anything because it won't. Because in order for you to determine whether or not I actually sold my gun to a friend or a relative or somebody, you would have to know that I even owned that gun in the first place and at what point it was sold. Okay. In order to do that, you need a registry, which is not part of this. This is just a segue to get the registry because what they'll do is they'll say, oh, we did the universal background checks, it didn't work, and now we need to do a registry so that way we can know if anybody breaks the universal background check law. No, 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 no. Sorry, but no. Also, it puts a real burden on me and others um to use our rights because I should not have to, if I want to let my buddy or my family member borrow a gun or give them a gun or sell them a gun, I should not be forced to go through the process of going to an FFL, doing a background check, paying the fees involved with all of that just to sell them something that I could have easily just been like, okay, I know you're not a felon, you're my best friend, I know you, or, a family member. It's dumb. Not to mention, it goes against your rights of doing what you want with your personal property. But I digress. Uh, the bill is being co-sponsored by Jerry Nadler um, and Sheila Jackson of Texas. I don't understand how any Texans elected her, especially considering how hard she's going on gun control. I mean, she came up with, what was it, HR 127 and a couple others. No, no, no. Now, it's let's see, where is it? The Republican reps here are Fred Upton of Michigan, Christopher Smith of New Jersey, and Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania. So, if you want to make your voice heard, I would, if you live in Michigan, New Jersey, or Pennsylvania, I would highly suggest you send your letters to those reps because they need to hear that you don't want these terrible laws. Okay. Um, James Clyburn, close by now, I announced Monday that he was also reintroducing legislation that would close what has become known as the Charleston loophole. The loophole that allowed Dylan Roof, the white supremacist who killed 9 people in 2015, to buy a handgun, even though he should have been barred from purchasing the weapon. Um, See, here's the thing about the Charleston loophole. What it does is essentially, for those of you who don't know, what it does is it allows, after 3 days of having no answer from the national background check system, it allows the seller to go ahead and sell the firearm. Now, some of you might be like, Well, why? And the reason is simple. If this law was not in place that allowed them to ignore the NICS check system after giving ample time, all the federal government would have to do to keep you from purchasing your guns, to keep you from exercising your rights, would be just not process any background checks. They could literally make it so not a single person in the entire United States or in a certain county or a certain state, they can make it so nobody could purchase a gun simply because they're not returning background checks. The NICS system is supposed to be instant. There are some times where, they have to take a little bit more time to delve into your background because of, reasons. Maybe you have a similar name as a couple other people who have records and they have to figure out if you're the person with the record or the person that with a clean slate. But this prevents this law prevents the federal government from barring you from purchasing firearms simply because government is ineffective, inefficient, slow, what have you. And to close this would make it so to change this law would make it so that way the federal government could just be like, we don't want to process any NICS checks for a whole month, meaning nobody can purchase guns for a whole month. Now, am I saying that that will happen? No, but we've seen where local governments maybe don't particularly like a certain person or somebody's on a watch list for no apparent reason, no fly list, and they were put on there arbitrarily for no reason, and that could make it so they can't purchase a gun or have to go through this huge process. And just there are various reasons why this is in place, because a right delayed is a right denied. And if you were to have to wait a whole year for your NICS check to come back, well, that's not really you being able to exercise your rights, right? The whole reason that anybody agreed to the background check system in the first place was because it was supposed to be instant. Now, I don't have a problem with the background check system if it's instant or done in a reasonable time manner, right? Also, if I can sell my gun privately. I don't mind going to an FFL and buying a brand new gun or a used gun from them and do a background check, whatever. But I do also like to be able to be like, go to the range with a buddy and, shoot his gun and be like, you know what, actually, I really like this. Would you mind selling it to me? And them saying, yeah. And then right then and there, being able to take a gun home. Okay. Um, so this law, if it was to be implemented, could be disastrous to millions of Americans who buy guns on a regular basis, or somebody who's never bought a gun that it's their first time, and they go in and then for whatever reason it takes more than 3 days. You know, um, Clyburn says in a statement, enacting common sense gun control measures is a priority for President Biden and his Democratic Congress, and this legislation is a good first step. A large majority of Americans, including gun owners, support universal background checks. No, we don't. The legislation is needed to keep weapons out of the hands of those who should not have them and save lives. They always use this. They always are like common sense gun control. No, no, no. We're past the point of common sense gun control. We have tried various measures of gun control over the last couple decades, time and time again. Not even the last couple decades, the last 50, 60 years. There's been gun control after gun control after gun control, and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. Crime doesn't stop. Gun crime doesn't stop. Violent crime doesn't stop. So why don't you try something else? Why don't you try social programs to deal with the behaviors associated with these crimes instead of going after just one tool that is used in the crimes, right? Uh, a large majority of Americans, including gun owners, no, no, no. The only gun owners that are for this are liberal gun owners who have this cognitive dissonance when they are talking about owning guns but still wanting more gun control. They, for whatever reason, they own guns, yet they don't understand or they don't care that the more gun control that you let happen, the more power you let the federal government have, so the faster we get to the point where you don't have any rights. So what? Um, no. Um, and then the whole save lives thing. It gun control has not saved lives. In fact, most crime, most violent crime happens in cities and specifically states where Democratic leadership leads those cities. Just look at New York, the crime-ridden New York. They have the strictest gun controls in the nation, I believe. Look at California. They have the strictest, some of the strictest gun control in the nation. And look at San Francisco, look at LA, look at Detroit. These are places where it's insanely crime-ridden. Then you go to places like, you know, Texas. You go to places like Utah, where there is less crime and more guns, less restrictive gun laws. So don't tell me that it's about saving lives, because if it was about saving lives, you would do something about gang violence, which you never talk about. You would do something about the underlying psychological reasons why people commit these crimes, but you don't care about that. And you would let people with non you wouldn't lock people up for drugs, turning them into criminals, giving them years and years in prison, which then turns them into hardened criminals who just don't care anymore because they already have a record for something they shouldn't have a record for, and then they just go and commit more and more crimes because what's the point anyway? So don't tell me it's about saving lives. Oh man, the new legislative push comes as members of the Biden administration, including Susan Rice and Cedric Richmond, um, have met with representatives of groups pushing for stricter gun laws, and this stuff might pass because they control the House and the Senate. And I'm very worried about it. Um, Biden has a history of dealing with gun legislation. I'm sorry. Mm, no. In 1994, the violent crime and the sorry, he sponsored the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, which included a 10-year ban on assault-style weapons, which did nothing because in the middle of that ban, Columbine happened with weapons that were on the ban list. So you want to tell me that banning them works? Criminals don't care. All you're doing is hurting law-abiding citizens. And guess what? Law-abiding citizens are not the ones who are going to go out and do violent crime. You give me a fully automatic bar, guess what? I'm not going to go out and shoot people with it because I'm not insane, nor am I a criminal. You give a violent criminal that, and they might, but these laws would affect which of those two people, me or the violent criminal? No, it would only affect me and turn me into a criminal for no reason. So it wouldn't affect the criminal at all. So stop acting like this 10-year ban on assault weapons did anything. It didn't. It didn't do anything because mass shootings and one of the most notorious ones happened in the middle of it. Okay. Also, in the that act was I don't know, the thing that put hundreds of thousands of young African American men in prison for drug offenses that were benign at best, and none of them should have been put in prison. It disproportionately affected African American communities, which in my opinion makes that a racist law, especially because of what he said on the Senate floor when talking about it. I mean, he essentially called African Americans animals, and this is the same guy who said that he didn't want his kids living in a racial jungle. I mean, that is insanely racist. So, no thank you. Um, so the fact that they keep going back to Biden's supposed expertise on this subject is laughable uh, on its face. Uh, Biden, I think it was last week, called for common sense gun law reforms, including requiring background checks on all gun sales, banning assault weapons and high capacity magazines, and eliminating immunity for gun manufacturers who knowingly put weapons of war on a. I'm sorry, no. You, Gun manufacturers are just providing a tool. They are providing a product. I'm sorry, but you can't. That's like, okay, suing gun manufacturers for people using guns incorrectly is like suing Ford because someone drunk drives. That's insane and stupid. Um, Asked about Biden's timetable for passing these measures, his secretary, Jen Psaki, said that throughout his career, Biden has advocated for smart safety measures. He's not afraid of standing up to the NRA. He's done it multiple times and won, um, and it's personal to him on a personal level. But she never actually said when he was going to do it. It seems though that next week is when not necessarily Biden is going to, uh, get it. It's going to be up for vote in the Senate. So I'm telling you right now, you need to go. You need to go right now. Type up an email to, if you live in one of the states, for one of these reps that I mentioned. Um, Send a letter out, and chances are, a majority of these people have their minds already made up, right? But there is always that chance that if they get enough people sending them letters saying, hey, no, this is not okay, this is not what I want, then they may not vote on this. So I implore you, please go talk to your representatives, send them letters, make sure that they know that you don't want these bills passed. All right? Anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and go ahead and share this video to anyone that you can. And you guys stay safe out there, and make sure that you are keeping up with the news because these next 4 years are going to be very crucial to our gun rights. Alrighty, guys, have a good one.